Okay, Chiran, good evening, everyone.
I'm recording the session.
Yeah, okay. So, good evening, everyone, dear students. So, today we'll start something about what is economics actually, and what do you mean by microeconomics and macroeconomics. These are the two few concepts I want to talk, because unless you know what is the basic of economics, it is not possible to understand the entire concept as such. So, let us start with economics as such. Now, for example, if you talk about your mathematics, you have something called as algebra, then you have mensuration, you have so many other words and terms you get. Same way, when you talk about science, also you have something called as experiments, observation, and all that. But when it comes to economics, what are the important terms we talk about is mainly demand, supply, market. These are the three words we will be talking about. So before we go into the entire concept called as macroeconomics, microeconomics, or whatever it is, let us see what is an economy. So basically, when I say economy, can anyone give me what do you mean by economy? Why do we use the word called as economies, growing economies, shrinking economies, doing well? This is what, that is what, we hear the terms. So what do you understand by the word itself called as economy? Can anyone? Or should I continue? Okay. So, for example, if you take, there are many activities that take place around in our daily life. That means we see factories, mines, shops, offices, as well as flyovers, railways. So many, these are all the infrastructures we have. So these are all the institutions and the organizations which are collectively called as an economy. So economy will consist of so many other things also. So such units will help us or entire people to earn an income, and also to produce goods and services which we require in our daily life, whether it is essential goods or whether you talk about luxury goods or whatever it is, everything is required by a human being, as well as the services also. What are the services are? Services of a teacher, services of a doctor, services of an engineer, all these are also very important. So what is an economy is that it is a system which provides the people the means to work and earn a living. That means every human being should take up a job. It can be an occupation, it can be a profession, it can be a business, or whatever it is. They have to provide a means to work and also to earn a living as such. This is the first thing when we talk about what is an economy. Then coming to the next concept is, what do you mean by economics? Actually, what is economics about? What does it talk about? Now, how many of you have heard the word called as Adam Smith? Did you hear the name of the person called as Adam Smith? Children, you can
Yes,
be
ma'am.
interactive. Yeah, you have heard about Adam Smith. Yeah. Can anyone tell me about Adam Smith's book? He has written a book. Actually, it started with him only. Okay, I will tell you the book. An Inquiry into the Nature and Causes of Wealth of Nations in the year 1776. He started this. So that's why he is called as the father of economics. So first, when economics actually was brought about, it was called as political economy. They never used the word called as economics, but instead they used the word called as political economy. But towards that, of course, in course of time, the term called as economics came into existence. So for every concept in social science, when we are talking about, we always take that the term is derived from which word. So the term economics is derived from the word called as ICOU, AIKOU. It's a Greek word which means a house. ICOU means house, and nomos. That means there are two words here. One word is ICOU, AIKOU, which is called as a house, and nomos, to manage. That means house, a house to manage. That is what is the meaning of economics. Entirely, we are talking about how do you manage your house. Okay. So the word was to mean home management with the limited funds available in the most economical way or economical manner. The one concept you have to remember in economics is that man has unlimited wants, but the resources to satisfy them are scarce. This is the underlining statement for economics. That is where entire country, individual, and an organization always has to face this. So, how do you manage with your limited resources to satisfy your unlimited wants is the basic concept for economics. Okay, so there are a number of definitions that are also given. And I think I have seen in some of the books as such, in some of the questions of UPSC, they have given a definition and asked you which particular economist gave this definition. So definitions are very important where you have to learn the definitions also. Like for example, if you take Lionel Robbins, if you remember, it's in the, so he's called as Lionel Robbins, who defines economics as the science of scarcity. I told you just now, scarcity. Okay. So in his book, Nature and Significance of Economics, he states that economics is the science which studies human behavior as a relationship between ends and scarce means which have alternative uses. These two words are very, very important. I'll repeat once again. Relationship between ends, okay, between ends, and scarce means which have alternative uses. As I told you that ends is we have to meet our ends. That's why they say that struggling to meet both the ends. Both the ends is nothing but where you are trying to satisfy your basic necessities very comfortably. That is, when you take what are the basic necessities of human life are 2 square meals per day, 2 pairs of clothes, and a house where it will protect you from different working with different weather conditions. If a person has this, this is what you call it as meeting the ends. So am I clear with the definition of Robbins, or do you want me to repeat once again? I'll repeat. Yes, Silat?
Clear, madam.
Hello?
Yeah, clear, madam.
Yeah, it defines economics as a science of scarcity. The basic knowledge is scarcity. Second thing is that it is the science which will be studying the human relationship or human behavior as a relationship between ends and the means and the scarce means which have alternative use. In future, in the further lesson, I'll be telling you that what is it. Okay, that means chooses to use its limited resources, which have alternative uses to produce goods and services and to distribute them among different sections or different groups of the people. This is the major concept of economics we talk about. Then the other one is, there is one more definition by Professor Samuelson. There is one more definition I talk about. He defines economics as the study of how men and society choose with or without use of money to employ scarce productive resources which could have alternative uses. This I will explain. What do you mean by alternative uses? I mean to say, I will give you the example for that also. Then the other one we talk about is that it is also making choices in the presence of scarcity. So before or going to the entire concept, we say that now, every human being has number of wants. It is a very common thing as such when we say it is, we have number of wants. Now, you can have 10 wants, you can have 20 wants. But the thing is that no human being can satisfy all the wants at a time. So what do you do is that you go for choice. What do you mean by choice here? That means you prioritize your wants, which is the most urgent one that you will satisfy, which can be postponed, you will postpone. That is what is economics, because we do not have enough resources to satisfy each and every want. No human being, no society, no country can do this because everyone has limited resources. That is a major concept as such. Okay. Then the next one we talk about is that economics is divided into 2 branches: microeconomics, macroeconomics. What is the difference between micro and macro? Now, when I say microeconomics, we say that we are only talking about one unit. Okay, this is also once again, economics is derived from the word called as, can anyone tell me the two words I gave you just now?
Akio and nomos.
Very good. Iko is
House.
very good. And
Mo-
nomos is
Nomos means manage.
To manage.
management. That means house management. And again, we'll come back to microeconomics. Now, microeconomics or the term micro is derived again from the Greek words called as micros, from a Greek word called as micro. Spelling will be, when I say microeconomics, I say MICRO. But when I say Greek word, it is MIKROS, micros, which means small. Micros means small. Okay, microeconomics deals with the analysis of behavior and economic actions of small and individual units, one family, one individual, one organization, or a few organizations put together, like a particular consumer, a small firm, or a group of individual units. Now, why microeconomics is important? This also should understand. So repeat once again, what is microeconomics? I said it is the analysis of, it is the analysis of behavior.
With the individual or say one consumer or a group of firms.
Very good. A firm or a group of individual units, as such we call it as. So it will be dealing with a smaller one, small units. Now, why microeconomics is important? Why should we study microeconomics? We should study microeconomics because it talks about something called as product pricing, factor pricing, and welfare economics. Okay, these are the three things you have to understand under microeconomics. Product pricing means what is the price? That is, price of a product always depends upon two factors. Can anyone guess and tell me? Price depends on what factors? What are the two factors on which price depends?
Demand and supply.
Very good, excellent. It is demand and supply. Theory of demand, theory of supply. Then under factor pricing, it will depend upon what are the factors? Can anyone tell me what are the factors of production? You should know these factors of production. Very important in economics is first concept is what are the factors of production? Land, labor, capital, organization. All four are very important. I'll repeat again. Factors of production are land, labor, capital, organization. Without land, you cannot do anything. Without labor, nothing is possible. Without capital, you cannot do anything. Money. Organization, you may have land, labor, capital, but if you cannot organize them and put them or streamline them properly, you will not be able to do anything. So these are considered to be most important factors. So the welfare economics will be talking about all these: wages, rent, interest, profits. All these are some of the important things which will be considered. Am I clear with that? So, and when we talk about microeconomics is that, why should we study microeconomics? The reason is that it studies the behavior of individual behavior, just now what I repeated is that, and the main tools of microeconomics are, what are they? Individual income. That means a person's particular income. Second one is individual output. That means what is that work you have taken up in a factory, or what is your contribution to the economy, to the organization, is what is called as individual output. Next, price of a commodity. These three are very important when we are talking about microeconomics. Am I clear? So main tools of microeconomics are demand and supply. Entire thing will be dependent upon demand and supply. Am I clear with microeconomics? Yes, ma?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, sure. Shall we go to one second?
Madam, you are speaking on mute, madam.
I saw, I checked. Thank you. Yeah. Now coming to macroeconomics. Now macroeconomics is derived from the Greek word called as macros. That is micros, that is macros. Spelling will be M-A-K-R-O-S. That will be M-I-K-R-O-S. Okay, which means large, big. So only differentiation you have to learn is that micro will be dealing with one single individual, one house, whereas macroeconomics will be dealing with entire country. Aggregates, you call it as the aggregates. It is concerned with the overall performance of the economy. It is concerned with the study of the problems like inflation, unemployment, poverty, etc. Can anyone tell me what is the meaning of inflation? Did you hear the word called as inflation? Did anyone hear the word called as inflation?
Yes, madam. Demand was more, so that price will increase.
That means when does it happen? When demand is more, supply is less, then the prices will shoot up. That means when there is a gap between supply and demand, price increases. That is, you will be paying more for the packet. There is also one more small definition we talk about inflation. Very easy to understand is that taking the money in suitcases, bringing the things in pockets is a simple thing of inflation. Yeah, you take huge amount of money, but what you get back will be in a small packet. For example, you take your cell phones today, your mobile phones you take, you are paying 1,50,000 you buy, but you get a very small Apple phone which you can hold it in your hand and bring it. But the amount of money you are paying is high. That is what is inflation. When does inflation increase is that when the gap between demand and supply is huge, it will lead to skyrocketing. The present example is your medicines. This coronavirus, you can see why they are selling with huge costs. Why are they selling? Because they are not available. The demand is huge. That is the reason why the medicines have been sold at high rates. That is what is inflation. Inflationary trends, you call it as. Am I clear with that? So it will be talking about inflation. So microeconomics deals with demand and supply. Macroeconomics will be talking about inflation, unemployment, poverty. So macroeconomics studies the behavior of the aggregates of the economy as a whole. Can anyone tell me what do you mean by aggregate?
Entire country overall.
Overall performance you will take. You'd call it as aggregate performance of the student. It is nothing but you talk about the entire subjects put together. What is aggregate performance of the student? Same way, macroeconomics also does the same thing. For example, national income, aggregate output, aggregate consumption, and the main tools of macroeconomics are aggregate demand, aggregate supply. What is the total demand of the country and what is the supply, total supply of the country, whether they are balanced or not. When they are balanced, naturally the prices will be moderate. Vice versa. That means what is the demand of the people is that when the price is low, demand is complete. When the price is less,
Demand is more.
Your demand is more. When the price is very high, the demand is less. It is that only. So we talk about macroeconomics. So one thing you remember is that in micro, I stands for individuals. In macro, A stands for aggregates. Am I clear with this concept?
Yes, madam.
In micro, I stands for individual. That means studying the economic behavior of the individuals. A stands for aggregate, studies the economy as a total whole. Okay, that is one concept we talk about. Next one is that both are interdependent. It's not that both are separate. Microeconomics and macroeconomics are interdependent and there is something common between them. What is the common thing that you see between macro and microeconomics? Law of demand came into existence from the analysis of the behavior of a group of people. You all know that law of demand? Just now we discussed that is only law of demand. Price increases, demand falls. Price decreases, demand increases. That is simply called as law of demand. Okay, there is one more concept in law of demand which you call it as equilibrium of demand. Equilibrium is that where the demand and the supply will be equal, and the people, in spite of price being lower also, the demand will be low. What is the condition is that, see, for example, if you talk about mangoes, a person can eat 5 mangoes, 6 mangoes, but after a certain point, he reaches saturation. Even if you offer him free of cost, also he will not eat. That is called as equilibrium, where supply and demand will become equal. So that is what is law of demand. So law of demand came into existence from the analysis of the behavior of the group of people. How do the people behave according to the prices that is available or the commodities that are existing in the society? Second one is that the price of the commodity is influenced with the general price level prevailing in the country. Depending upon, for example, the price level in India is totally different from the price level in United States or in European countries, because it all depends upon the national income, per capita income, earning capacity, purchasing power of the people. These are the various factors that will be influencing them also. So this is one aspect when we talk about macroeconomics as such. Am I clear with that? Then, national income of a country. Can anyone give me the definition of national income? Do you know or you don't know national income? How do you calculate national income, or how do you define national income?
Average of each person's income.
Yes, very good.
Divides
Sum
by
total- Yeah, very good. Sum total of incomes of individuals, units of the country divided by the total population.
population.
That is what is called as a national income. Good. Aggregate demand depends upon the demand of individual. How do you get the aggregate demand? Is that you should be able to know the demand of individual households of the economy. What is the behavior of the individual? What is his consumption pattern? These are all the things which will help you to know the aggregate demand as such. Then there is also something called as, one word called as macro paradoxes. What are these paradoxes? What do you mean by that? Is that it is a contradictory statement, but it is a true statement also. How? That means there are paradoxes in both micro and macroeconomic activities. That means, what is a paradox is an act which is beneficial for an individual but may be harmful for the economy as a whole. Like, for example, you take an individual will save, his family will benefit, but the whole economy starts saving, then it will result in
Whole country savings.
and then what happens? Suppose if everyone are saving and nobody is buying anything, what will happen? There will be a contraction of demand, output, employment, income, everything will come down. The economy contracts, goes back. That is a present trend we are seeing nowadays. What are the economy saying? Because of the coronavirus, the consumption or the people spending has come down. So if there is no spending by the income, how do you produce? What do you produce then? If there is consumption, there is production. So we call it as wheel of wealth. There is one more thing which is called in economics, you call it as the wheel of wealth or the circular flow of economic activity. That means individuals will give money, industries, that means we invest, the companies will produce, we buy the products from them. So we invest, we get the return. Okay, they come in the form of interest, they come in the form of the salaries and wages for this. Again, we use our salary and wages to buy the products. This is how the wealth will be moving from the producers to the consumers to the government. We pay taxes to the government. The government will provide it with all the amenities that are required for this. This is all called as wheel of wealth. There is no starting point, there is no ending point for this. This continues like this. But suppose If we stop consumption totally, that means the people are not spending anything, then it leads to a very bad concept. That is the reason why today there are stimulus packages that are being announced. What are stimulus packages is that where the government will give money to the people so that they will spend. If they spend, then only the economy can run. There is one concept, children, which I want to tell you, which is called as taper tantrum. This I think they can ask in your UPSC questions as such. What do you mean by taper tantrum? Taper tantrum is that this happened in 2013 in US when the US was facing some economic crisis. They tried to give the money to the people. Now, the concept is that when you give the money to the people, ask them to spend, the first thing is that the supply also should be increased. Suppose if the people are having money in their hands, they want to purchase the product, but there is no supply over there. So what will result is that it will result in an inflationary pressures where some people will be able to get the product, some people will not be able to get the products. This is called as taper tantrum. So the country should not just give the stimulus like that in order to. And there are two ways of giving this. There are that is called as quantitative easing and helicopter money. There are two concepts in this. One is called as the quantitative easing. What is quantitative easing is that where the banks will be giving loans to the people so that they will take the loans and spend the money. There is also one more suggestion which is called as freshly printed money. They will again print the money. Now also in India, there is a demand. The opposition is asking the government to print the money and give the money to the people because now because of the coronavirus, many people lost their jobs or they have spent their money on medical things for their near and dear ones by which the middle class is not having any money. So now the government want to give the money, but that should be very cautious because if you give more money or you release more money into the economy, if there are no products to purchase, it will lead to very bad inflationary trends as well as there is also the value of the money will come down also. What is helicopter money? Helicopter money is that where there is a direct transfer into, that means they directly give the money to the people. You spend, please spend. That means you will be stimulating the demand, you will be stimulating the demand, you will be stimulating the growth, you will be stimulating the economic development of the country because now hardly the people are spending money. If they don't spend the money, the economy comes to a standstill. So these are all the paradoxes. So if the individual saves, it is beneficial for his family. But what about the economy, the country? What will happen if there is no money? Then there is no demand. For whom will you produce the products? So these are all the other things which you should also understand. Am I clear with this, children?
Yes, madam.
Chalo. Next one we'll talk about is which is more important. Is microeconomics important or macroeconomics important? Is that both are very important. Both are required. They are supplementary to each other and not contradictory to each other. Because unless you know the behavior of an individual consumer, you will not be able to get an idea about the aggregate behavior or aggregate demand and supply as such. So macroeconomics will help to understand the working of an economic system as well as the various microeconomic paradoxes also. Are the people spending? Are the people not spending? That is a microeconomics. Depending upon that, you will get the clarity about the macroeconomics also. Till here, am I clear?
Yes, madam.
Then, next we'll go to central problems of an economy. What are the central problems of an economy? That is production, distribution, disposition. That means distribution of goods and services are the basic economic activities of life. Production, consumption, distribution or disposition of the goods. Disposition here refers to that how do you distribute the goods. That means we say that the manufacturing place is somewhere, but it is consumed all over the country. One example is that where apples are produced in Jammu and Kashmir, but they should be distributed all over India. Tea is grown in Assam, but it should be distributed all over India. So production, consumption, disposition of goods and services are the basic economic of the activities of the life. Now, in the course of these activities, every society has to face scarcity of resources. This is where we again come back to the concept of scarcity in economics. Because of this scarcity, because every country has scarcity of resources, they have to decide as to how to allocate the scarce resources, which are scarce. How do you distribute, and how do you try to increase your economic growth or development? So this leads to three main problems of the economy. What are the three problems? What to produce, how to produce, for whom to produce. Always remember, children, entire economics will depend upon these three questions. What to produce, how to produce, for whom to produce. These are the three basic problems that we face. So these problems are called as the central problems because these are the most basic problems, and all other problems will revolve around this only. Shailja, I think time is getting over. Should I join back again?
You'd like to summarize the session?
Huh.
Summarize the topics? Yeah, right. Please join again, students.